everyone. My name is Genesis Caplan, and I'm originally from the beautiful country of Guatemala, but I was raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And if there's anything that you should know about me is that I absolutely love plants, I really enjoy cooking, and I love sharing meals with my friends and family. But I have to admit to you that my relationship with food hasn't always been so great. I haven't always been passionate about urban agriculture, and I haven't always been open to trying something new when it comes to food. I personally care a lot about the environment, I care about the conversation surrounding climate change, and I am most intrigued by sustainability heroes. So a few years ago, I came across a TED Talk by a man named Stephen Ritz. He was a teacher from the Bronx who talked a whole lot about why it's important to teach kids how to nurture plants, to grow, harvest, and enjoy food. He was funny, he was passionate, but most importantly, he was inspiring. So much of what he said made sense to me, and it felt urgent. And in his talk, he showed pictures of city kids connecting to nature through green walls, rooftop gardens, and hydroponic towers in their school. And a light bulb went off in my head. I did a little bit of research, and I learned about urban agriculture in relation to food education and the environment. And at the time, this was pivotal in my life. My husband, who worked in corporate banking, became so interested in all of these ideas that he decided to quit his job and go back to school to learn how to grow food indoors in urban settings. So we moved out west to Tucson, Arizona for him to obtain his master's in agricultural engineering. And to me, the most surprising thing about this new town in the desert was the vast amount of access we had to amazing food. Restaurants there have this fresh vibe, and the local grocery stores have amazing produce at even better prices compared to back home in Pittsburgh. And that's because Tucson is located next to the border town of Nogales, which is an entrance point for food to filter in for the entire country. And that fascinated me. You see, my relationship with food up until that point had been more negative than I would have liked. I'd always had health problems, I was a picky eater, I sort of still am, and I was the child of a mother who worked tirelessly to provide for myself and my entire family in another country. So regular home-cooked meals were not a part of my everyday life. By the time I reached adulthood, I knew that my relationship with food needed some work. And luckily, my time in Arizona helped me reflect on that, because as my husband was becoming an urban farmer, we were surrounded by friends that love fresh vegetables and healthy food. And honestly, that helped me a lot, because it does take a village to live healthy lifestyles even when you're an adult. We became so passionate about healthy eating at my job that my boss couldn't understand why we wouldn't be thrilled when donuts were brought into the office. I felt like I was making all of the right moves. I was reading books, watching documentaries, getting all and any information about food that I could, because I was building a foundation of knowledge that I was so eager to share with the world. My boss at the time, who became my mentor, would often challenge my opinions about food. We would have debates about what healthy eating meant, and he would challenge me to think about the hard questions in relation to food access. You see, we worked in youth development and social services, so our conversations always circle back to how can we expect the communities that we serve to eat healthy food when food itself is not always available, when time is not available, when money is not available. And the reality is that food insecurity prevails in our communities, that it feels illogical to talk about food quality when there's food inequality, when we have people living in actual food deserts. So I went from having all of this new information, new opinions, new life, new me, to realizing I didn't have a clue in how to answer these tough questions. I didn't come from a life of privilege. Those problems we discussed were not foreign to my personal life, but somewhere along the line of me discovering the power of healthy eating, I had created a disconnection with my own understanding of food access. And that frustrated me, because how could I change the world that way? So I thought back to that Ritz teacher in the Bronx, full of passion, and I kept thinking about the role that I want to play in history. So I promised myself something. I promised myself that I would continue learning what healthy eating means and what food education and access looks like for communities across the world. Because it turns out that healthy eating doesn't happen in a vacuum, especially when facing adversity. It's complex and it's very personal. I want to be the food hero I didn't have in my life. So I stand today before you as a proud FoodCorps service member. I love the impact that we have on our kids and therefore the future. So I urge you all to continue to do the wonderful service that you're all doing, to be inspired, to search for solutions, and to think about the role that you want to play in history.